computer.
Okay.
So thanks for doing the interview for SENTAC. We've been excited that we're getting a whole, many of the past presidents on for interviews. As you know, you were so helpful to get that one going with Bob Rubin. That was the inaugural interview. And subsequently, they decided they wanted to get all the past presidents. So thank you for doing this. What year were you a past president?
1987.
87, okay. Well, that seems like a long time ago.
It is a long time ago, though it doesn't seem like it was that far, along the line relative to SENTAC, but it was a long time ago.
Uh-huh.
And of course,
And
I was the vice president the year before and managed the annual meeting that year, which we had at Windows on the World in the World Trade Center, which is
wow. Oh, you're kidding.
oh,
Oh.
really something, yeah.
I guess I didn't go to that one. I don't
Don't
remember.
recall. Don't
I
recall.
thought really I've gone to every one of them because Bob
Mhm.
wanted me and Linda to go to everything. So we went
Absolutely.
to everything very dutifully.
Mhm.
So why did you get involved with SENTAC? From Bob?
So it's appropriate, Nina, that you're the one who's interviewing me because I got involved for the same reasons you got involved.
Right.
I made acquaintance with this guy, Bob Rubin, and actually when I came to the faculty at Montefiore, which was back in 1974, Bob was not in town. He was on sabbatical in London. And so I didn't meet him till a couple of years later, and I became a member of, I had my faculty appointment in the Department of Surgery and then switched, also gained a faculty appointment in otolaryngology. And Bob—
the Department of Plastic Surgery? Plastic surgery, right?
Department of Surgery then split off to plastic surgery because I was heading the Craniofacial Center at Montefiore, which was quite a large center at that time.
Right.
And so—
wait, were you the head of it? Were you the head of the Craniofacial Center?
I was, yes.
Yeah, that's
for
what I thought.
25 years. Yeah.
Wow, crazy.
And and Bob took a special interest in me, and I don't know why, but I certainly regard him as being a mentor and a friend. And of course, we've stayed in touch all of these years, not just socially, but through the journal. I read a lot of papers for the journal, and so it's very comfortable being amongst a lot of people from SENTAC because I know them all. From my era, anyway.
Right. So how did you come across a description of Shprintzen syndrome? I think that would be very good for all the young people to learn about your interest and how that all evolved.
Well, when I joined the faculty there to head the Craniofacial Center, at that point in time, clinical genetics was a kind of an open field to people from many different disciplines. People will remember Bob Gorlin. He was a dental specialist. He was an oral pathologist. And Mike Cohen, who was one of his fellows, who also was an oral pathologist, pediatricians. I don't know if I was the first speech pathologist who became interested in clinical genetics, but it really was an open field that allowed a lot of different people in, much like SENTAC, as a matter of fact. Though today there are board certifications for geneticists. At that time there weren't, and people became labeled either as a syndromologist, which is a term that doesn't appear anywhere anymore, or a dysmorphologist, or a genetic counselor. And so I just was fascinated by it at the time. And in a craniofacial center, of course, you're seeing nothing but children with anomalies of the craniofacial complex. So I went off to Seattle for a period of time, and I studied with two people there who were amazingly beneficial to my background. David Smith, who wrote the first volume of malformations in children. Bob Gorlin subsequently, and Mike Cohen, who was a true mentor to me. And I just took to it. And so while I still dabble in speech-related issues, my real love is dysmorphology and how it affects communication, how it affects hearing, how it affects development, cognition, and so on. And I'm still doing it. So it's stuck.
Right, but how did it evolve that you had this syndrome named after you?
Well, I didn't do it, of course. It was David Smith who did that. Because he wrote the big compendium on congenital malformations.
Yeah,
He was the one who coined that term, along with Mike Cohen, who published it in an article in the Cleft Palate Journal. And I think that, you know, how did I recognize it? Well, because we saw in our center about 500 new patients a year. And I saw a pattern that was there in about a dozen cases in 1 year. And it seemed like more than coincidence to me, obviously. And given my newfound interest in clinical genetics, I published an article describing these 12 cases.
I said,
Even
what year was that?
That was 1978. And
What year?
1978.
Oh God, 1 second. Let me just pause this. These dogs are going crazy. Hold on.
Sure.
So look what I bought in honor of this interview. Can you see it?
Oh, that's an oldie.
Can you believe that?
A lot of misinformation in it too, because
Isn't
things
that
have
crazy?
changed a lot
It was
since
published in
97, I think.
Let's see, when was it published? In
I think-
97.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
It is possible. That's what it was.
Yeah. Here's another one.
That one was in 95, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually an excellent book. I'm sorry
Yeah.
it's out of print.
I got it. One of my friends has become head of the craniofacial team at our children's hospital. So I wanted to let her know of some of the history, and I'm getting her involved in SENTAC and everything. So I bought her these books.
Great. Love to meet her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'll see her.
So,
Will be in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Are you going to come?
Yeah, I'm coming.
Oh, good. All right. All right. So anyway, so Dr. Smith named the syndrome after you.
Correct.
And then it got changed. What year did they change it?
Well, when you say they, I mean, these things
Who's
sort
they?
of.
I don't even know who does this.
Yeah, this is something done by convention. Look, a lot of people call the syndrome DeGeorge syndrome after Angelo DeGeorge, all right? Because he described cases back in 1969, I believe it was.
Oh, okay.
However, the person who really discovered the earliest cases was a Czechoslovakian ENT. She was a phoniatrist, and her name was Eva Sedlečková.
Oh.
And she published a series of cases in 1955 who said that they had congenital velopharyngeal insufficiency and a flaccid face. And so in Eastern Europe, they still call this Sedlečková syndrome, and she probably deserves the credit, you know, for having described these cases. But there are a lot of people who have had their hands in this. Now there's this new name, 22q11.12 deletion syndrome, which is, I think, terrible because it's misleading. Not everybody who has a deletion at that chromosome region has the syndrome. And it's cumbersome. So I call it VCFS, but you know, what difference does it make? It is what it is.
So what is your current involvement? You have a whole
So,
organization for it right now, correct?
so yeah, as you know, I'm 76 years old now. I retired about 10 years ago from State University of New York at Upstate. And but I didn't want to lose touch with my patients. I was following a huge number. So I started a charitable organization to provide free consultations to people who have the syndrome, who may not necessarily get state-of-the-art information wherever they are, and it's international. So I'm following now about 1,500 patients through this
Wow.
foundation. We've been successful at keeping it going, and I've brought in 21 different experts from a lot of different fields. Other SENTAC members actually are working with me. Tony Isunza, who I'm sure you know,
Yes.
yeah, Tony is one of my primary guys for giving information because he studied the syndrome a lot. So we do, what we are is a center, an interdisciplinary center without walls.
Right.
So we don't hire them. They act as consultants with us, and they give free consultations to people literally from Australia to Azerbaijan. I mean, it's we have patients literally from all over the world. About 65% come from the States, maybe about 20% from Europe, and the rest scattered through Asia, Africa, and South America. So, and Australia. We have a large contingent from Australia.
So it is really important that people in our organization know about this, because it can be a service to their patients as well.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. So how would they reach you if they wanted to reach you? Just through your name, or?
Everything we do is online. So
Okay.
it's called the Virtual Center for Velocardiofacial Syndrome.
Okay.
And if they type my name in, or if they type velocardiofacial syndrome in, they'll get to it. We get a lot of hits on the internet. So it's
yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah. And it's great. I can, like I'm doing right now, I can sit here with a really nice shirt on and a pair of shorts.
Right, exactly.
No, you can't see me from the waist down, but everything is done by video conference. And and then we record those calls and send copies of the recordings to the patients who register with us.
So what would you like to say to the current members of SENTAC and to future generations for continuing on the efforts that you put in so early and were so involved with?
Well, what I'm going to say is going to be no surprise to you. I mean, SENTAC has been a really important part of my career, both in terms of my learning, but also in terms of my access to, mega brains of people who have taught me so much. I was very fortunate in the early days, SENTAC, to be exposed not just to Bob Rubin, of course, but to Sylvan Stuhl and to Sandy Gerber and to all of the great people who made SENTAC what it is. It's the friendliest organization I have ever belonged to. I think everybody has those examples of professional societies where everybody's out to make a name for themselves and to be at the top of the heap. SENTAC is just the reverse. The people who seem to have the best reputations or the best learning tend to go to the bottom of the heap by pushing people like you and me when we're young to the top,
which is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I was president of SENTAC within 10 years of joining. I think I joined in 1977. And I was busy on committees, and I, have certainly paid my dues to my forebears in the organization, some of whom are unfortunately no longer around us. But on the other hand, who taught me so much. I mean, not just about stuff, but also about how you think.
Right,
And that's a very, very valuable tool to have in any medically allied, field.
right.
So I'm very grateful to them all. And that, you sometimes think about, am I going to walk up to Bob Rubin or to Sylvan Stool or, to any of these guys who are so enormous in the field, and will he actually talk to me?
Mhm.
I was a, snot-nosed 20-something-year-old
Right,
when I started this.
right,
And I mean, they embraced me as they
right,
did you and everybody else and the
right.
other people that you and I know, very well, especially not just from our Einstein days, but also, from the days with SENTAC. And I really cherish the organization.
Right, and it serves as an example of us to do the same for other people. So
Yes.
it pushes forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Anything else you can think of that you'd want to include? I was kind of,
What I could do is I could actually, if I can share my screen, if I'm able to do that, I could show you something. You have your screen sharing disabled.
oh, I don't know how to do it.
Can you
Dana, can you help me? She wants me
you're
to,
gonna you'll like this, Nina. You really
he
will.
wants me to enable my screen sharing. Oh, there it is, right in front of my nose.
That work?
Does that work?
Yep. Okay, let me see. Well, it's not showing yet. Yeah, basic. Let me see, share. Open system preferences. Ah, okay. I'm going to do this. Take a second. Use password. Okay. And I have to accept Zoom. Okay. No, it means I have to quit, and you can choose to quit Zoom. Use that now or later. Okay. Here we go. Let's see if it works. Ah, here we go. So what I'm going to do is share
Oh,
my.
yeah, look at that.
So this was the year I was president, and the annual meeting was in Denver at the Westin Hotel.
Wow.
And they made a mistake when I registered, because they asked me when I registered, was I coming to the SENTAC meeting? And I said, yes, I've already registered and I'm the president of SENTAC.
Yeah.
So they gave me the presidential suite.
Oh, wow.
And it was enormous. It was
Yeah.
probably about 2,000 square feet of hotel
Wow.
space on the top floor.
Wow, that's great.
And so with all of this space, and my wife didn't even come with me to the meeting, so it was just myself. And I said, I've got to do something with this space. So I issued an open invitation to people to come up to my room, and I got
Oh, that's great.
campaign and so on. And this was my bathtub.
Wow.
It was like this gigantic whirlpool tub.
Yeah.
And you see here 6 past presidents
Yeah.
of SENTAC: Susan Gray, myself.
Yeah.
I look a
You.
bit younger there. And here's Bob
Yeah.
Rubin, Sandy Gerber,
Yeah.
Joe Puglisi,
Yeah.
and Alan Sade.
Wow. That's
And there's
crazy.
Sheila. There's Sheila, of course.
Yeah, Sheila's there.
And Craig Senders is here. This is Linda
Wow.
D'Antonio, Marianne Witzel. That's Giselle Giroux, one of my former fellows.
Right.
And this Quinta Beery. And, I mean, we had a ball.
Right.
But I figured, since we're talking about past presidents, here's 6 of them in the same bathtub.
Right. That's a great one. That's great.
So I thought you might like
Yeah,
that.
that's amazing. I'm glad you have that. I'm glad you have that. That's great.
I actually have another one with all of us in the same bed because my bed was like a football field.
Maybe you
So
can put it
we
up and
climbed under
put
the
it on the
covers.
site. I'll send you
I-
the email to
Yeah,
Dr. Nation.
I've got to find it. I've got to find it. It's in there. So it's on an old slide though. That's the problem.
Okay.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, listen, anything else you can think of? I was just trying to kind of get information for younger people. I'm trying to get as many people involved as possible. It's so much easier in a sense that we have Zoom, but also the Zoom kind of makes it a little less personal.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that balance, but
Well,
Yeah.
what I would tell younger people in the audience is stick with it. You may end up learning more in 3 days at SENTAC than you do in a year, in your office.
right.
And when you have the opportunity to walk up to anyone standing there, to have a conversation and to learn something, do it, because the people are understanding that this is their responsibility from one generation to another. And as we say in Hebrew, Vador Vador.
Vador.
And so I think that kind of passage of information in such a casual atmosphere is the best thing, that SENTAC has going for it. And it's really, I think, unique.
Great.
So
All right.
enjoy the
I'm gonna wait
rest-
1 second. Don't go off. Okay. I'm gonna pause the